Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm just putting together a few short clips videos to share with you my experience over the past couple of months. And the title of these videos is To Smear or Not to Smear? That is a stupid question. Now, this is very relevant to women who possibly are thinking or have thought about having a smear test and haven't, and those men who've got women who have got partners who they think should have a smear test, and to encourage them to go and get one. Now, when I said to smear or no, not to smear, what a stupid question, I was really talking to myself, because over the past couple of months I've had what some would consider an absolute horrendous experience. And over these next couple of videos I just want to share with you those experiences, and to show you that can be light at the end of a tunnel, and that even in in times of darkness there can be so much light and so much to be learnt and enjoyed. So I just want you to stay with me if you can. I'm not a professional, I've never done this before, so it probably comes across as very amateurish and possibly not grammatically correct or even PC, but it's a very, very important topic that I want to talk to you about. But before we get into it, I need to give you a little bit of background as to why I am at the stage I am now. Back in December, I went to the doctors because I was due to have a diabetes checkup. Now, the night before, I was at my sister's house, and one of my dogs had accidentally bitten me on my hand and was hanging off the end of my hand as she lockjawed on my hand. Unfortunately, because we all know what it's like to get doctor's appointments these days, I had an appointment with the nurse the following day for my diabetes. So I turned up at the doctor's, and I said, "Oh, could you have a look at this for me?" Because I knew I probably would be on the phone at 8 o'clock in the morning to try and get an appointment. I probably couldn't get one. Yes, I know. You've all been there. You all know what it's like. Well, fortunately, the lady on there, the nurse there, said, "Yes, yeah, they're fine. We'll have a look at it." And because she was only a certain level of nursing, she had to go and fetch another nurse who, fortunately, that day was in doing some paperwork. So she came in and gave me my tetanus injection, and then they strapped my wound up, and uh, on my way I went. I suddenly thought, oh, when I'd left, I hadn't actually got any spare bandages, so I went back into the nurse, and the nurse said to me, "Oh, I'm just booking you a follow-up appointment at another surgery, so that they can clean it up and make sure that there's nothing wrong with it." So I said, okay. So this was on the Monday. So on the Friday, I went for a follow-up checkup, and the nurse there said, "Oh yeah, it's infected, so give you some more antibiotics and come back in a few days." So for the next three weeks, I was going to the nurse 3 or 4 times, twice a week to get it changed. I had 3 lots of antibiotics because it was a nasty, nasty bite. The poor little girl, she never meant to hurt me, and I think that she would be devastated if she understood what she'd done. But the fact was that I had a really bad cut on my hand. So on one of these visits, just before Christmas, I went in to see this nurse called Joanna. Now, Joanna was really funny and made me laugh. And I'd seen her a couple of times, and suddenly she just turned around to me and she says, "Oh, I see that you've not had a smear test in over 35 years. Yes, that's right, 35 years. And I said, yeah. I said, well, to be honest with you, I'm not having sex. And without being really crude, I'm not putting up anything up there. I'm not using a vibrator, etc. So I just thought there was no point, because, you get problems when you're active in that area. And she said, no, that's not true. Who's told you that? I said, oh, it's just what I thought for myself. She said, no, that's not true at all. These cancerous cells can be in your body for years, 30, 40 years at times. It's so important to have a smear test. Anyway, this nurse, she was so gentle yet pushy that I actually, with my personality, respond to. So I said to her, okay, I'll agree. I'll have a smear test, and as long as you can make it when I'm coming back to get my hand sorted. So she went on the computer and booked ahead. So I had a double appointment on the 6th of January to go and have the smear test and have and get my bandage sorted. So let me just entice you. The story gets really intriguing. So join me for my next podcast, or whatever it is, video. I'm not sure what you call it, and you can hear more about it. Thanks. Bye.